Good evening. Thank you so much for joining us. For all our listeners online, thank you so much for joining us. And for those who are going to listen to this session afterwards, feel free to engage with us on our platforms at GYF Facebook page and GYF LinkedIn pages. So my name is Valdivia Virginia. I'm the GYF ambassador, and it's a pleasure to be here, pleasure to have our guests. So before I go any further, allow me to give a chance to my guests to be able to introduce themselves. I think I'll start with Peter. Feel free to jump in, and then we can move forward to Mark and Ivan.
Okay, I'm being placed on a spotlight here, which can be really tricky. But listen, my friend, my name is Peter. I happen to be the CEO of Global Youth Forum, and it is fun and hot to be in this house today. Thank you, Val, for hosting me.
Thank you for joining us. Mark?
Hi, everyone. Thank you for inviting me to this. I'm Dr. Mark Charlton. I work at De Montfort University, specifically on pursuing the SDGs. And yeah.
Thank you so much for joining us. Well, welcome. Last but definitely not least, Ivan, feel free to jump in.
Hi, I'm Ivan Liebert. I'm from a football club in the United Kingdom called Leicester Nirvana. And we teach children from the age of 5 years all the way up till adulthood.
Thank you so much for this introduction. And for those who are listening in, GYF, of course, as we are aware, has always been championing for SDGs. And for today, we're going to speak about football, which is one of the channels in which we're going to use football to be able to preach SDGs this coming Youth Day. So, of course, I think having mentioned and, of course, having introduced yourself, our guests are very, very vast in terms of football and SDGs. And, of course, we have two players in the house. I think Ivan and Peter are very serious footballers. And then, of course, Mark and myself, I think we are serious SDG activists. I consider myself an SDG 5 activist. I work with a women rights organization, so I'm very passionate about women's rights. So moving forward, of course, before we jump into the session, I'd like to hear from Peter. Since you've been with GYF longer than the rest of the guests, would you just like to give a brief about the Football for Peace initiative?
Okay, Football for the Peace one. It's the one I have on. People think, oh, I don't remove the cloth. I remove it sometimes. So it is always on me. So back in 2015, we started Football for Peace, and it didn't start as Football for Peace as such, but I used to work as a resource center manager and a marketer. So my tool for bringing students from other institutions was through football. So being a coach, I could host tournaments every weekend. And then it got to a point where I had over 30 teams. So I'm like, what do I do with these teams? So we organized a tournament through that football. We raised $500,000 Kenya shillings and donated that to a drug rehabilitation center in a county where I used to live. So when my contract ended, I'm like, oh, I used football to raise money. So meaning I could start a football thing. So we started a football movement. Like our first tournament was with 16 teams. It was chaotic, I must say. Referees being beaten up, field not slashed. It was all over the place. In fact, we did not even have money to pay the winners. At the end of that, we learned lessons, and the initial project was called Helping Young People Walk Out of Drugs, and it was on Jamhuri Day. So that built a platform for us to establish now something we wanted to work on, to bring more young people together, to use football to promote peace in Kenya. And around that line, Val, we've used that Football for Peace to organize 12 tournaments in 4 counties, connecting to 108 football teams across Kenya, having 35 corporate supporters. So that is a long description of Football for Peace. Thank you, Val.
Thank you so much, Peter, for that wonderful brief. And I think, of course, having been a volunteer for GYF, I was able to participate in one of the tournaments in Mombasa for the Football for Peace, whereby I remember at the time we were really pushing for the SDG 16, the Peace, Justice, and Strong Institutions. So I believe GYF has come a long way. That was back in 2016. So I believe GYF has come a long way, and I'm very, very happy to be here today. So jumping in, I think we can start in the conversation. I'd just like to start with Mark. Why football for the goals now and not any other sport?
Well, football's an incredibly popular sport, arguably the most popular sport on the planet by some margin. So people become very passionate about sport. It's played at a global level and has a huge viewership, but also it's played at a community level with millions of young people playing football in their communities in countries across the world. So it's a good way to get messages out to communities, and also most community football clubs have a focus for improving their neighborhoods or their local areas. And again, this is a thing that resonates with those people who run football clubs, that they can focus their work on the SDGs. So bluntly, football's really popular and it's a good way of getting messages out, but it's much more than that. It runs far deeper.
Thank you for that, Mark. So, Ivan, I hope I'm pronouncing your name right. Why football? Why now?
Yeah, I think, again, football has always been a popular sport, and young people can play with just the ball. They don't need anything else. They just need space and the ball. And I think that's why it's so popular amongst everybody, because there's, it cuts out a lot of finances just to play in the park, on the street, in the playground. You don't need much to do that. But I think over the recent years as well, there's been a big boom in football, in England, especially with football, the country getting to the World Cup, going through the World Cup, going through the Euros, with the women's football taking off in England, then winning the Euros, then becoming just greater in the game, and then the whole profile around those teams as well. As we know as well, in the UK, we've got the Premier League, which they say is one of the best leagues in the world. So it attracts players from everywhere. So the UK is building up this real football culture, and the world's starting to pay attention to the leagues that are here. But now that's starting to spread into other countries in the recent years, where we've got, some major stars going into other countries in the world and other leagues in the world. So it's just a universal product that is available to all. And like I say, it doesn't take much to start it. It doesn't take much to start a football club at all. It's how you then go on and make the club better and strive to kind of bring in other opportunities for young people.
Okay, thank you so much for that. And before we move on to Peter, allow me to give Sebastian a moment to introduce himself. He's also one of our guests. So Sebastian, feel free to jump on. Hopefully start your video also, we can see you, and then you can introduce yourself.
Yeah, do you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Yeah, perfect. Yeah, I'm on a pitch on a green to my football club, so I have some connection problems, so sorry that I'm so late. And actually I tried to make my camera on, but I think in this hour I will I will fix it. We will see. Introducing myself, I'm Sebastian, 34 years old. I am the president of our football club here in Peitz in Germany. We are exactly between Berlin and Dresden, so we are in Eastern Germany and have a football club with 230 people. So we are a quite big football club, I think, but yeah, there are still bigger football clubs, but here in the region we are still small clubs with 20 or 30 people. We have this invention with this climate neutral net zero project in 2020. We start with an award called Stars of Sport in Germany, and coming in the end round, coming to the final. And this was a moment for us that we start this project to become net zero. And since this 3 years now, we have we have a lot of measures which helps us to get the net zero, the black zero for the emissions. And yeah, that is our goal here in Peitz, and we want to get the net zero in latestly 2025.
Thank you so much for that introduction. And we were having a discussion whereby I asked the guests to be able to answer as to why football for the goals now and not any other sport. So before I jump onto you, allow me to get to Peter, and then we'll be able to get back to you.
For me, if you start, Val, for me, you start speaking about football, I'm like, I'm in. But just to add on what Ivan and Mark, because you are a spectator. So look, football has got approximately 3.5 billion fans. That is just an approximation. And cricket follows that, and then hockey follows by 2.5. So what tool is available that we can use to bring more people together to learn more about the Sustainable Development Goals? Look at the world's population. It is just above 8 billion. 3.5 means is just half a world. And football brings this population together. So for me, not that I love, I'm deeply in, but the numbers football brings aligns with what we want to achieve by 2030. And for me, I think football can be used as a tool to drive actions at the local level. And to add on what Ivan says, it's bringing people together with very limited resources. All I need is a ball and a field. The rest we can make up as we move along. That will be mine, Val.
Okay, thank you so much. And just to give a little icebreaker, I believe football is highly popular, among the men. So in this 3.5 million that you're talking about,
billion, we talk about billion.
Billion. So out of 3.5 billion, do you believe there's a good number of women in that sector that actually benefits from football?
I will allow members to jump in. So before I got crucified by a lady in the house, but even Marco, Sebastian, you guys can help me there.
Okay, as they think on that, allow me to have Sebastian. Why football? Why football now?
You mean why football now?
Why football and not any other sport?
Why football is a popular sport, or why football should do more for SDGs?
Okay. So going back to the question, in terms of I had asked Peter, in terms of women, is this Football for Peace initiative, does it only target a certain group of people, or do you believe that this is actually going to have a wide reach in terms of promoting the SDGs? Maybe Ivan, I could put you on the spot for that.
Yeah, thanks, Peter. Yeah, definitely. I think women's sport and women's football in particular has risen, like I say, in the last few years. We've got more teams in the UK, women's and girls teams, than we ever had. There's a lot more initiatives to get women that are not physically active, just moving and getting active. So there's a whole kind of push on the women and girls agenda in the UK right now. And just coincidentally, we spoke about SDG 5, which you work on, Val. Well, we're also doing something on SDG 5. In the next 4 weeks, we're going to develop a women and girls event as well. So, and we're going to deliver consultation. So just as you were talking about, we want to deliver consultation to understand what are the barriers for women to get into football? How can we make it more inviting? What will make you want to attend these football clubs, these buildings that are very, even for myself as a male, they're very raw, they're very structural, it's not very soft, it may not be very inviting. So how do we make that more inviting for women and girls to just come into the building and be part of the sport, and then go on to actually start playing the sport? So we're going to do that in the next 4 weeks as well. So that will hit those important SDGs around gender.
Okay. I'm happy to hear there's something coming up for the women. I want to put Mark also on the spot before I go to the next question.
So,
do you believe through the Football for Peace, in terms of the initiative you're taking, that it is involving, it is inclusive of other women?
Yeah.
Or not other women, but inclusive of women?
Yeah, I do. I think particularly like Ivan mentioned, women's football is incredibly popular now. It's got an equal, it might not have the equal amount of resource at the moment, but certainly TV companies are giving it the equivalent platform to promote the game. But I should say fundamentally that all the male players in our football teams and all our young female players also have mothers and sisters, you know, so they like these things. If your football team could influence a player in the team, that player can then influence their family too. So it's not as simple as saying, well, football seems more popular with boys at the moment. You know, that's changing, but also these players have families and female members in the families, and there's a really good messaging that comes through just by the relationships people have in families. Families are incredibly influential in our lives. And if a member of the family really understands an issue and a cause, typically they share their learning with members of the family. And we know that children can be a huge influence on what our parents buy, how our parents behave, and so on and so on. And this has a significant effect. And I think like what Ivan and Sebastian are doing, making sure that their game is inclusive and seeking out new ways to bring in more females to play. I think that's incredibly important. But also there's a dual role here of how they get information out into their communities. And I think that football's very good at that.
Thank you for that to both of you. I'm tempted to say you passed the gender test, but moving forward, Sebastian, what initiative are you running that aligns with our Football for the Goals? Sebastian, can you hear me? As we wait for him to log back in, I think, Ivan, if you would want to jump on that, what are some of the initiatives that you are running that aligns with Football for the Goals?
I think the way we've kind of taken our approach is we want to start from the beginning. So one of the things we're doing, you could say it's around climate action or strong institutions, but we want to find out what our actual carbon footprint is. So we're working with DMU and some of Mark's colleagues to come in to take our measurements, to look at our utility bills, to look at the gas, electric, what do we use, what kind of things are we doing in the club. We've just completed a travel survey as well to find out how far our members have been traveling to the venue and externally when they play games and matches, etc. How many people are going in the cars with the families, etc. So once we get that and crunch those numbers and kind of analyze where we are with our carbon footprint, at least we've got a baseline measure of what we want to go on and do. But it's not just that, again, because that is the practical, fundamental stuff. But then we're also going on and do other stuff. So around the youth justice, talking about, I think in fact, that falls under DMU's peace, justice and strong institutions. So we also work with young people who are just entering the criminal justice system. And we do some mentoring with them, coach mentoring. We're working with our local authority on that as partnership as well. So there we take the boys or girls actually, every week, and we mentor them, we show them what football coaching is, how they could get into it. And there's in the UK, there's a thing called the EE Playmaker, which is like an introduction to football coaching. We ask them to complete that as well. So it's like a semi-qualification. But that again is around that mentoring, that justice system. So, it's about how do we go out there in the world? How do we empower these young people to stay out of trouble, but maybe come and get involved in football? So they're just two of the things that we're doing at the moment.
Thank you so much for that. Peter, enlighten us. what are some of the activities that relate to the Football for Goals that you're undertaking?
All right. So what we are taking, we have a number, but I will focus on one, for example. Just like what Ivan have said in terms of empowering people with skills. And I will always like refer, if somebody gives you a ball and you don't know how to kick the ball, what will you do with the ball? You will just look at it, for example. So, well, other people, like let's say Val, who don't know more about football, just think about it about football that is a bit about just kicking the ball. I see more into it. I see molding of a person. I see how do you work in a team? How do you share the resources you have? Like, I can't score a goal alone. A team is made up of 11 people. So for us, under Football for Peace, which is the major one, and that is the one that got us to the Football for the Goals initiative. That was the entire initiative that took us to the Football for the Goals. So under that, the bigger aim is get these people, the initial project, like the one that we are now building on, go to a local community, bring young people together, play with them, understand the challenges they go through, the issues they have to deal with, and then see how can you jump on and fill those gaps. And for us, it is much of empowering these young people with skills and tying that to the Football for the Goals. Sebastian, I don't know if you know Street League, maybe Mark knows, or no, Ivan, Street League in the UK, preparing young people for work. I visited them sometime when I was in UK, and I really loved the program. And it shaped my program in Kenya, where we are now calling it Molding for Work, where we use sports, not necessarily football, but football is a major part of it, to empower young people with skills. So Val, it is Football for Peace, combining that with the Molding for Work, and we prepare young people to get into work using the sports.
And it's making much more sense now. And allow me to ask Sebastian. I think I saw him log back in. Sebastian, if you can hear me.
Yeah, I hear you actually.
Great. I was asking, what initiative are you running that aligns with the Football for the Goals?
Wait. Can you repeat it? I didn't understand.
Yes. What initiative are you running that aligns with the Football for the Goals?
Okay, you mean exactly which measures we do here in PITES?
Yes, that now relates to the Football for the Goals.
Okay, like Ivan explained with the buses and so on. We do in first step the same like Ivan. Yeah, we have one coach, one bus to pick up our kids. This bus, or nearly we have two buses to pick up all kids and drive to the away games. Our second measure is that we switch all lights to LED. Yeah, not to do all light to the old lights. Yeah, which needs a lot of electricity. Then the third measure is that we plant a lot of green stuff. Yeah, for example, on Monday we plant with Mark a tree in a symbolic way, and yeah, normally we had a lot of other plants here to switch from O2 to from CO2 to O2. Another measure is that we build a solar system in the future. We have one, but it's not our. Yeah, we only, or the company rent the area from us for this solar system, but we want to put an own solar system on our roof. That's the fourth measure, I think. The fifth measure is that we have biogas 100%, not certificated. We pay not 1 cent more for certificated gas. We pay a lot of more for biogas. It's from old plants, yeah. And there we have also reached the net zero in heating our buildings. So we have different measures here to get the net zero in 2025. And I think we are on a good way.
Thank you so much, Sebastian, for that brief. And then, of course, moving on to Mark.
So you're asking me what I'm doing for net zero?
Yes.
Yeah,
So football for the goals.
yeah, so I inspired by Ivan and Leicester Nirvana, and then by Sebastian and Eintracht Peitz, I started a research project at the university around net zero football, so I could really understand better the efforts that football teams are making to bring around sustainability in their communities. And this is what I found so far, is that the work that they are doing is not really represented in the mainstream media. So they teams are and clubs are tackling major issues that are actually inhibiting the chance of becoming net zero. So in the case of Ivan's team, Leicester Nirvana, the issues that face young people who play for that club are issues of economic challenges, for example, or challenges of education, and also challenges of transportation and all the things that come with it. But if global strategy at the moment seems to be in our day-to-day lives that we fly a little less, or we eat less meat, or we buy electric vehicles, and these are things that are in some cases out of the grasp of young people in many communities. Like, young people don't drive anyway. Their parents get to decide if they drive or not. And how they change their diet is often dictated by what food is affordable to a particular community. And finally, it's hugely aspirational to go on holiday and take a plane abroad. So these are things that often are the global message around change your ways and change your lifestyle, and they can't impact young people or in certain communities. But what Ivan and also Sebastian are proving is that young people can be the difference and can make the change by making simple changes in their lives, and actually demonstrate to others that another way is possible. And this is the exciting thing that I've learned while doing this project, is that new ideas are coming up all the time from Leicester Nirvana, Eintracht Peitz, Yakar Football Academy in the Gambia, and a list of other teams who have got involved in this project, that are actually just demonstrating that there's another way to look after the planet. We will have to ultimately do all the things. Society will have to do all the things that are the to-do list, you know, buy an electric vehicle, change the way we eat, change the way we go on holiday. That will come for the section of society it relates to. But in football, the magic of this project is that these communities that people like Ivan and Sebastian serve are actually answering the big questions, and demonstrating that young people in different communities that sit outside of the mainstream can make a difference and can have an impact, and do care about the environment. So I think that's my role in it, is really just watching Ivan and people like Ivan and Sebastian go, and then telling others that this is happening, and then trying to stimulate my own research off the back of that. So yeah, it's more my credit really sits with Ivan and Sebastian rather than anything that I'm doing of value. So I would say.
Thank you. Yes, finish.
Yeah.
No, feel free to finish. I interrupted you.
Oh no, that's I think that was a nice way that I could sum that up. That really, I'm just telling the stories of these community football clubs, and hopefully that is demonstrating and creating a framework that other clubs can learn from around the world. And that's kind of an exciting thing for me as an educator, that we've got these great methods being used by clubs like Leicester Nirvana and by Eintracht Peitz and other organisations, and then other football teams who want to take the first step can actually look at what works in these communities. Even simple things like consulting your community is the first step of sustainable development, really, particularly in SDG 16 terms, like giving people a say. Ivan, as he mentioned, I was very fortunate to go to the club and plant a tree with some young people. I mean, that is a very simple step, a very effective step within the grasp of most football clubs, because football's usually played on grass and it's good for growing things.
It's
So,
true.
yeah, so I'll leave that there, I think. But I think yeah, it's just about promoting this work, really.
Okay, thank you so much. I'm loving the feedback, and especially because I see green economy has been highlighted by a majority of your activities, which now takes us to the next question. Seeing as we are celebrating the International Youth Day, which is coming this weekend on 12th of August, and of course the theme for this year will be the green skills for the youth towards a sustainable world. For Omondi, Peter, what are some of the activities that you're doing that are able to engage young people into the movement for the SDGs?
Before we came here, I made Google my friend just to check what green skills are, to be honest. So I was on a debate and members were like, tell us what these green skills are. What are they? So then I found out attitude falls in there, values falls in there, the future of work, the future skills. So I'm like, oh, okay. So again, Val, what we do in terms of this one, I'm looking at the International Youth Day. I think this is interesting. And Mark and Sebastian and Ivan, you will like this one. So to mark International Youth Day 2023, we have partnered as Global Youth Forum, United Nations Information Service, Nairobi, have partnered with us to roll a Football for Peace inaugural tournament in Kenya. And we are doing that on 12th. We have balls, we have all this. And for once, it is not going to be in the major city. It is going to be in one of the rural villages. So that is something we are really looking forward to. And it is going to be really exciting and interesting, with an aim of mobilizing local communities to use football to advocate for the SDG. So Val, on International Youth Day, we got that coming. So Mark, Ivan, and Sebastian, keep your eyes on that. I'm told it is inaugural, so we might send you the idea in future, okay?
Great.
But there we go, yeah.
Wonderful, wonderful news. Sebastian, we can now see you. I think I'll put you on the spot. What are some of the activities that you're doing to engage the young people? Promoting SDGs.
Okay. Did you hear me twice now? No, hopefully not.
We can hear you.
Do you hear me twice? No.
No. It's
Only
okay.
once. Okay.
Your audio is okay.
I try to find the chat function. I put a link in the chat. It's a link for our exactly what you mean. We take our kids and say to them, you are now godfathers of trees. Yeah, we have a system. Kids from the age of 6 to 8 have a goal that they care about a tree, and they are the official partner of this tree, and we call them godfathers. Yeah, like they have their own tree, and nobody else can maybe hit it or something else. Yeah, can harvest it. It's official history, but you have you have to make different measures to care about. And if he is 8, then he gives this tree to the next younger people. So we call this guys like in this link you see in the chat, and that is our system to explain or educate the young guys what SDGs mean, what a green soul is, and what we want to reach with our net zero strategy for the future. Yeah, so that is easily explained, and you can see it in the pictures in this link how we do it.
Thank you so much, Sebastian. I love the background. I'm seeing a few players on the field already. It's a good thing to see that. And of course, Ivan, moving on to you. What are some of the activities that you're doing to engage the young people and promoting SDGs?
Well, one of the things we do to engage, we're a club that use football as a vehicle to empower and provide opportunities for young people. And that's our ethos and that's our mission statement. So one of the things we do regularly is, well, when we're looking at, when Peter was talking about the green initiatives, you know, supporting them with different skills, helping them get employment, one of the things we push very much is getting qualified coaches involved, but also getting qualified referees involved, because once these young people become referees, they can go on then and earn an income. So they may not always focus on the physical playing of football, but once they become referees, you can get paid for becoming a referee. And then, you know, week in, week out, you can earn an income. So that's something we do encourage within the club as well, because for some young people, it makes a difference. It's their first job, you know, is needed as well. In the UK, they're crying out for more referees, and they're crying out for more Black and Asian referees as well. So it's something that we help support, create that pathway for.
Okay, thank you so much for that. I'm loving the feedback from our guests. Of course, for those who are listening to us online, thank you so much for joining us. And for those who are going to see this afterwards, also feel free to engage us via our social media platforms. And of course, still engaging in the conversation, I'd like to ask Mark, what do you think needs to be done differently in terms of trying to achieve SDGs by 2030?
Well, there's quite a lot that needs to be done. We're halfway to 2030 and most goals are not on target to be achieved. So we need to accelerate our efforts. But the only way we're going to do that is to tell more people about them and start focusing their minds on working towards them. So Ivan and Sebastian are great examples of people who have adopted this framework and are able to apply it to their club, and that's really important. But we also need our civic leaders to take action and to actually drive the agenda from the top as well as the bottom. I think it's really exciting that clubs like Leicester Nirvana and Eintracht Pijs are doing things on the ground, because I think that will stimulate a sense of political thought and action amongst those young people as they grow older. So there's going to be some real long-term legacy in the work that they're doing. But hopefully the politicians and the leaders of the respective countries in the locality and nationally will start to understand that the will of the people is a cleaner, healthier planet. And that's really, I think, what this project is about, is to make those first steps towards getting those voices heard, that we need a different level of solutions for all communities, and lead by example, which the two football clubs that I'm working with here, Nirvana and Pijs, are doing. But also it can't just be down to grassroots level. We need global leadership on this, and somewhere these two things need to meet in the middle. So hopefully by such good example, this will accelerate within the next 7 years, and people will change their attitudes. And the human race is notoriously good at doing things at the last minute. So I'm living in hope that we can make the change. But in the meantime, it's really good to see the progress that's being made so far in our communities.
Okay, thank you so much for that. Ivan, what do you think? Do you feel like we are halfway there, not yet there? What do you think should be done differently to get there by 2030?
I think a lot has been done, and I think the UN's SDG model has been a brilliant model for the, you know, not just for this country, but countries around the world to kind of take part and get involved in. And I'm seeing more and more organizations adopting the UN's SDGs as part of their models and working towards that. And that's something that we've done as a football club as well. I just think we need to keep going. And I suppose without being too political, you know, finances need to be used at a ground level where it can really make a difference. You know, we can talk about obviously creating renewable energy for the national systems and national grids, but there's so much going on at a local level in villages, you know, in areas where if you helped us create that renewable energy, it would make so much more difference. And then local people would understand more about, you know, development goals. So I think there is a bit more to do in terms of, you know, the visual profile, but also a lot more to do in terms of how we bring those finances down to community level and grassroots level, and build initiatives at that level, which real communities, real people can see, feel, and benefit from.
Thank you. And Sebastian, what do you feel about this? Are we close? Are we almost there? Are we there? What do you think can be done to be able to get us there by 2030?
Yeah, I think on Mark's position, we are really good to do something close before it ends, or the goal is coming, or mostly, or sometimes we don't reach our goals. So we are in Germany on this position. I think over 1,000 clubs around Peitz know what we do, but I think no single club will copy our strategy, will look at us and try to do the same or stuff like that. The easy reason is they have no volunteer people. Yeah, we have in the world, I think, the problem that nobody do something without earning money, and that is the problem, that the most clubs can only do what their normal goal is, and the normal goal is, in our part, it's a sport. In other parts, it's culture, it's dance, but nobody look on things they can't handle. Yeah, they can't handle with people, with the volunteer people. So I think it's quite difficult to hold the strategy 2030. So, but I don't know what we can do here. We can only ask people, do more for your club, do more for your future. But yeah, also in the nature of the people, of the human, is that they only do things bring them one step further. Yeah, and I think the green strategy is not a thing that people brings one step further in their mind. Yeah, in our mind, we know this strategy is good, but in their mind, why should they do them? So that is the main problem for me.
Okay, thank you. And should I say saving the best for last? Peter, feel free to jump on. Keep it brief.
No, this is a trick, Val, but look, we've jumping on to what Mark said. Mark, people have been talking about these SDGs. For me, the early people jump on and take actions and match those with the talks, including the leaders, the communities, and everybody. We will move the needle. That's for me. That's number one. Ivan did touch on the resources being spent where we can get the most impact. It is at the community level. It is at the grassroots level. But again, look, Sebastian touched on something. Why are we reinventing the wheel when we have already things that we can champion or we can support? Can we just partner and collaborate? Look at this room. We are coming from across the globe. Now coming together, learning from Mark, Sebastian, Ivan, and finding what can work and building the best. So Val, for me, let us not reinvent the wheel, and let us stop just talking. At these conferences we see here, where money is spent but no results. And then obviously we can collaborate more to drive the change we do want to see along the lines of the Sustainable Development Goals. Those are my sentiments.
And I think, just to wrap it up, from each one of you, I've had a point on accountability, especially in terms of the duty bearers that are responsible for ensuring that we do get there. And of course, I'm very glad to be part of this conversation. Of course, there's no time to be able to really get into the details. There's so much to say. So as we conclude, allow me to give my guests each 1 minute just to be able to give a final word to the Football for the Goals community, and also any other SDG actors out there on the International Youth Day. What would you say to the young people? What should be the thing they should consider in the 12th August while celebrating the International Youth Day? So whoever is willing to jump on.
Well,
All right, point.
yeah.
Yes, please proceed, Evan.
I mean, I would say to young people, just, be resilient. There's a lot of decisions in the world being made on their behalf, but be resilient and take the opportunities where you can, because I'm always telling young people that the world wants to hear from you while you are young. That's your opportunity to speak, to have your voice. As soon as you get older, they're not interested in hearing you. They want to hear another young person. So, be resilient, number one, but two, take your opportunities to raise your voice where you can and speak about issues that are important to you.
Thank you for making it sweet, short and sweet. Let's go to Mark.
So yeah, I can't fault anything Ivan said there, but also I would say, to add to that, start to follow the lead of teams like Leicester Nirvana and teams like Eintracht Pites, who are doing demonstrable work that can be learned from. So this is something that we need now to. It needs to become fashionable. It needs to become a trend, and we've got two leaders in this new fashion in these two football teams. So I would encourage people to follow their lead.
Thank you, Mark, for that. Sebastian, jump on.
Doch. In general, I would talk to all that they all have to stop talking and do something. Yeah, it can be easy things. Make a run, make a green one, call it green one, and earn some spending money and do just bought some LED lights or something. It's some easy measures everybody of us can do, and especially to the young guys. Yeah. They have to find the right way, the right way they want to do, and the way the public need, They have to take the way between this, and so they are on the right road to help everyone. They have no switching their mind completely, but it's sometimes just small influence we can give them, so they. Maybe in the future, not maybe in 1 or 2 years, but maybe in the future, they recognize, okay, what this old guy, Sebastian, told me in the past, maybe it will be good, and maybe I will switch something to reach the goals for mostly the public helps,
Thank you for that. Peter?
Okay. What I would say to a young person out there and the Football for the Goals community: one, if we change our attitudes towards young people and give them a chance to realize their full potential, we might achieve probably say 60 to 50% of the SDGs by 2030. But if we ignore them, we just put them as scarecrows and we just assume that we are listening to them and not taking action to support them, we will still stand at 12% attainment of the SDGs. So give young people a chance to take action, not just to bring them in a room, talk to them, and off they go. That is one. For young people out there, our attitude towards work, I'm told that people with degrees and stuff, they are choosy. Get out, get what you can do, be resilient, and just do what you can do as you move along, and things will shape up. And then the final one, I'm being reminded every single time, the values are key. For me, the values I stand for, things like honesty, integrity, peace that we build, this will make you thrive and people will really want to work with you. For the Football for the Goals community, we need more of these conversations. Today we are 4 or 5. Next, we need to grow 10. And then until we bring all our convening together, until now we start now building real connection, person by person. Now I know Ivan knows Peter, Sebastian's know me. Mark, I don't know how many times we've met. And that's now for the community, that's what we want to build. Anyone who comes with something reasonable, why not jump on? Mark has always been jumping on. So I thank him so much for creating time. And today we are growing the community. Thank you. And I think the community, we are starting something great. Thanks, Val.
Thank you so much for that. And allow me to conclude this session by giving a vote of thanks to our guests. Thank you so much, Ivan, Mark, Sebastian, Peter. This has been a very good discussion. And of course, I believe there's so much more that we can talk about. And we can always plan to have this differently. Peter, you've mentioned there's something we have to look forward to on Saturday. You'd mentioned something to do with the football tournament. And hopefully you will be letting us know through the GYF page in terms of the progress of that. But other than that, to our listeners online, thank you so much for taking time to listen to us today. And all the best from us. Have a nice time. Goodbye.